Where are we?
Hello, Colorado.
Hello, Colorado.
I'm Susan Corrier, your relocation specialist with Cozy Colorado and the Corrier Real Estate Group.
And I'm Jason Corrier with Corrier Real Estate Group. We've been in real estate for 22 plus years, and it's been a wild ride. And what we do love is helping people of all different types of buyers and sellers. But the bottom line is, we have a lot of people that are relocating here right now, and they're looking for information about Colorado. So we kind of have a fun podcast for you today. I think it's fun, at least.
Yeah, it's all about, a lot of it's about community highlights, and but today we're going to talk about 5 things to be aware of when moving to Colorado that you'll never think of when you're here.
Kinda, right.
Yeah.
So, for example, altitude, right? So we have some Airbnbs in the mountains and in a number of areas, and we've had guests come here
from Texas.
They drive up for the holidays or whatever. We rent them out, and we had a lady, they had booked it for, what was it, a week?
Yes, and it was actually a family. They went up there and called me and said that they were really sick. They had to go to the doctor, and it was altitude sickness. So
yeah,
they left.
Yeah, they left and it was booked.
Because
so
it is about 10,000 feet.
Yeah, it's over 10,000 feet where our cabin is in the little town of Blue River, which is about 8 minutes south of Main Street, Breckenridge. So you're probably familiar with Breckenridge if you've looked into Colorado or moving here. Those mountain towns, and we love to ski there. There's the Grand Lodge there.
Mm-hmm. Lots of fun things to do in Breckenridge, but just to be prepared, they do have that canned oxygen nowadays that you could buy for $9.95, I believe, at any store up there, and it helps. It's just extra oxygen.
Yeah, the best thing you could do is hydrate.
Yeah, definitely.
You got to drink a ton of water. So altitude sickness is something that people don't really take into consideration, because if you think of it this way, like if they come here from Texas and they drive to Denver's a mile high, right? 5,280 feet high.
It's pretty high.
It's high, but people acclimate. It's not like crazy. Obviously sports teams come here and play and stuff like that. But when you go from 5,000 feet to 10,000 feet, that's a shock to the system. Right. If you've been at sea level for your whole life, people aren't used to that. So hydration, oxygen, just making sure that you kind of take it a little bit at a time. You do acclimate to it. It's not like climbing Mount Everest or something like that.
Right, but yeah. And also be prepared for the weather, because the state of Colorado, I always say it's bipolar.
Right, exactly.
You never know what you're going to get.
Right, we look at the weather here every day. We look at AccuWeather, our weather app.
And I say, Jason, what's the weather going to be like?
I don't know. I'm like, I don't know, because you have an app on your phone that you could also, but she uses me to, I'm like the...
I know he checks it, so that's why I'm a little spoiled that way.
So we look at the weather, because you could wake up in the morning and it's sunny and bright and going to be 54 degrees. And 54 degrees here is, if the sun is out, it feels like 67 degrees if you're in the sun. Mm-hmm. If you're in the shade, it's cooler, but if you're in the sun and it's 54 degrees and it's really sunny, it feels really nice. You could wear a t-shirt, but by the afternoon, if you have a front roll in, you'll see it roll in over the mountains.
Right, it looks pretty scary.
Right.
But the next day you wake up and there's snow, and the kids have a snow day, and everything is just running a little bit slower than normal. And the day after that, it could be 54 degrees again and sunny, and everything melted off.
So literally, like when you wake up in the morning, if a front rolls in, by the afternoon, if you're in a t-shirt earlier in the day, you're probably going to need a parka by the end of the day. Or vice versa, if you have a parka, and you can take it off by the next day, the end of the day, because the sun is out again. Right. And I always tell people, because of our Airbnb, be very well equipped. Always get a four-wheel drive in the wintertime, especially going up to the mountains. Nobody thinks about that. Like a lot of the rental car companies don't have enough four-wheel drives. So I have a Turo. It's a rental car that I provide to all our Airbnbs.
and they have access to rent that. And it is a 4-wheel drive. So I always encourage people, please get a 4-wheel drive to make sure that, you're prepared for, going down I-70, going up I-70, I guess. Anywhere just around here,
because the weather changes.
It really makes a huge difference.
Right, like she's saying. I mean, it can be the streets are totally dry one day, and then that night, the next morning, it's really cold, and it had snowed overnight, and that first layer of kind of rain when it's warm the day before, and then it rains, and then it snows a little bit on top of that. There's ice under there. So when you wake up in the morning, it looks like, oh, there's snow, it's winter wonderland, but it can be black ice under there. So you got to be careful driving. And so, yeah, we have a 2020 GMC Yukon. We have a Thule rack for luggage or skis or whatever that we rent. It's a nice ride. And in fact, I love driving it when we're not Turoing it, actually. And it's great in the snow. But she's right also. So we've had people drive up and we say, they rent our cabin, and we say, hey, we have this vehicle. They know we're good. Well, in Texas, they'll sell like a Toyota Tundra or something that's a rear-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive vehicle.
And you will get stuck.
Because they don't, down there you don't need 4-wheel drive, so there's no sense in paying for that. So they have, rental cars particularly have a lot of them that aren't 4-wheel drive. In fact, we had some friends come here for the holidays.
Yeah.
And he rented.
Not to laugh at them, but
they're from California, and he rented a Toyota and couldn't figure out how to get it into 4-wheel drive when he got up to the mountains.
I know, if you're not used to it, you don't know.
And he got stuck, and he was looking in the manual like, where's the switch for 4-wheel drive?
Unfortunately, they were just around the corner, so his wife came running down.
She had to run back because they were leaving to go do something. They were gonna go. So yeah, we ended up going and getting them out, and then helping them drive out. But
in situations like that, we always tell our kids, tap on the brakes.
Yeah, that's
Don't hit the brakes. Tap, tap, tap on the brakes.
Right. Even if you have an anti-lock braking system, you don't just hit the brakes. You're gonna slide, but you tap, 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 tap. That'll slow you down. So hey, that's a pretty good tip for the weather that can change in a blink of an eye, right?
I think so too. So make sure you have a 4-wheel drive, and if necessary, tap your brakes. Do not hit the brakes.
That's right.
Yeah.
What about cost of living? I mean, we're from here, so we've kind of seen a lot of changes here. Well, one thing is we know how to drive in the snow because we grew up driving in the snow.
Right.
There's people who come here from, Texas, California, Florida, or whatever, a lot of relocation. They have no idea how to even drive in the snow. Well, it's funny because now they cancel the school when the weather changes, and they'll cancel it with a couple 4 inches of snow or whatever. But when we grew up, I mean, you had your butt on the bus, and
Those are snow days that you couldn't even get out.
Right. Unless it was like a blizzard, you never had a snow day. I mean, I remember going to school when it was like 14 below and
then
stuff
walking 10 miles.
Well, uphill both ways. I did at least.
Whatever.
You were bougie. You
Yeah,
had it good
right.
down in the valley. San Luis Valley is actually the coldest place on planet Earth, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It is one of the coldest places in the United States.
It is. Yes,
right.
It is. Yeah.
So cost of living.
Housing market. You could talk about that a little bit more than I can.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of projections are even in 25 that we're going to have 6% appreciation in Colorado. The market was kind of flat a little bit through 24, and you had a lot of buyers. They were reticent to purchase because of rates. They thought rates were going to come down. We had heard maybe the Fed was going to drop them 4 or 5 times. We didn't get the movement in rates that we had hoped for. Now we're into 25. Also, there was the election. People were kind of freaked out about what was going to happen with that.
Houses were staying on the market for 122 days.
Yeah, long time. Yeah, long days on market. The good ones are still selling fast.
Yeah.
The good ones, good price, good location, really good condition. Boom, they're selling because people will choke down that rate because they know that house is the bee's knees.
Right, and they can always refinance.
Right. So this year, that's what they
need to think.
Right.
Great time to buy, but.
It is a good time.
Yeah,
well, and there's a lot of builders out there offering a lot of incentives.
Absolutely.
We'll talk about this in another podcast, but we went to Regency Montaigne. We have some clients buying a property in Castle Rock. So check out our podcast about Regency and Montaigne and Castle Rock.
Beautiful community. Absolutely gorgeous.
Castle Rock's awesome. But in there, I was able to negotiate at unbelievably like $40,000 off the price for an inventory home, a Toll Brothers inventory home. It's a good time to buy. Builders are offering a lot of incentives. I put a deal under contract yesterday with the builder incentive. They're offering $15,000 in closing costs or rate buy down for my buyers. So they're really excited. So yeah, it's a good time to buy, even though the cost of living is expensive. I mean, I posted a meme yesterday about buyers needing proof of funds, and it was the fridge was open and there was like all the drawers were full of eggs because eggs are so expensive.
That's another thing to talk about.
I know, right? The cost of living. So cost of living here in Colorado has definitely increased, and the housing market is expected to increase again. So just real quick. So if you're thinking about, let's say you look at the rate and you're going to buy, $650,000 house, $700,000 house, and you look at the rate and you say to yourself, well, that's with the rate was, instead of 6.5, it was 5.5 or 5. And if I wait for it to get down there, then I might save myself $1,000 a month in my mortgage payment. But what you got to remember is that if prices are going up 6%, and they're anticipating that, then, and I was out yesterday with a lot of clients looking at $1.2 million houses, looking at $500,000 houses, spent the whole day driving around different areas in town, and the good ones are selling really fast. So we actually went through 2 houses that went under contract. And so what's happening is people are saying, think of it this way. If I'm gonna pay $1,000 a month more in mortgage payment for a year, okay, until rates come down, that's $12,000 more than I hope to not have to pay. But if it goes up 6%, right? So if you have a house that, let's say it's 700, let's say it's $1 million just for round sake numbers, okay? So it's going to go up $60,000. So $1 million house today is going to be $1,060,000 by the end of the year. So now you're either paying $12,000 more in mortgage payment over the course of the year, or you're paying $60,000 more for that same house in a year or later in the spring. So I'm trying to explain to my clients, if you're ready to buy now and you're waiting because of the rate, I wouldn't wait, because you're going to end up spending more. You're going to pay more for the house than you would have in the mortgage payment when you do the math. So I think a lot of buyers are getting off the fence right now. They're acclimating to what rates are. The inventory is still relatively limited. And we have listings that are going under contract because buyers are, there's a lot of activity. There's a lot of showings. There's offers. Because I think people realize that, hey, I'm going to cost myself more money in the long run if I wait for rates to come down. And like you said, they can refinance anyway.
Well, let's talk about taxes and, expenses in Colorado.
Yeah, taxes went up. I mean, the past couple years.
We saw it with our home.
Both of our homes.
For sure.
Yeah, it's painful. The general rule is like 1.1% of the value of the assessed value of the home. So if it's a $750,000 house, it's going to be around $7,500 in taxes. New builds, you got to be careful. Some of them have metro districts, so that's where you want to hire a professional like us to detail to you what all of the potential HOA costs are, taxes are.
Right, and I think that's really important because when we were purchasing our home here in Parker, that's the first thing I looked at were the taxes, because you could pay from like $5,000 to $10,000 a year, and of course that's what I really look for. No one really pays attention to that, so I think that's really important when you're out buying a house.
Yeah, exactly. And also in like in Texas and Florida, they have really expensive property tax. It's not here, so people come here and they're like, oh man, this is pretty good. But actually, if they think about it, they can actually save themselves more money based on the municipality that they move into or the county. And then the other thing is that with new builds, they won't quote the tax rate on a new build because the assessed value's on the dirt. So they only reassess values every odd year. So they do it in 23 and they do it in 25, right? So they do it every other year. So they'll reassess values, and then everybody kind of acclimates. But that's how that happens. And so let's say there's a house that starts in Regency, Montaigne, for example, a Toll Brothers house or something like that. They assess the value on the dirt because there's no improvement there. There's no house. And so people buy the house and they move in, and if they're, they have somebody, or they didn't have representation, or they had somebody who didn't know what they were doing, that I will always call the builder and say, or you can apply the 1.1% and be usually pretty safe too. But, because if they build let's say it's $1 million house, and then their taxes are $3,000 a year, they're thinking, oh, this is pretty cool. That's $300, a month or whatever. And that's not right, because when they reassess the value and the improvements built, and it's $1 million house there, their taxes are going to go up from $3,000 to $10,000 a year.
I think that's a really important point that he just brought up, because when going to buy a new build, you don't think about hiring a realtor, but you need a realtor on your side to
Always.
Negotiate.
Yeah.
Even with the new build, explain to them how realtors get paid through builders.
The builder pays our fee. And it varies based on what their inventory is and what the market's doing, because builders kind of play around with that. But the bottom line is my buyers, they don't, I have everybody sign a buyer's agency agreement with us, and it's, the box that you check is seller will pay, buyer's obligated to pay. So, and what I want to do there is I want to make sure that obviously we get compensated for our time, but all we got to do is call the builder and ask them, hey, what are you co-oping at? And then they'll tell us what the co-op is. And then, my buyers put my name down, and then I get paid a fee from the builder. It doesn't cost them anymore. They don't get a discount if they don't bring a buyer's agent. Right. So why wouldn't they want to have representation?
So many people just are not.
They just put their name down with the builder.
They think that they're paying for their realtor's costs.
Or they figure, oh, we don't need one. But that's why we were in Regency, Montaigne, actually, the other day, is because his clients that I had negotiated down the price, which is, well worth the money, and they're not paying my fee, negotiate the price down for them. Then we did the inspection like a week later. Well, at the inspection, you want to have a third party representing you. So we had our inspectors come through that we know very well, pillar to post. It's the Camden team, Paul Camden, Jim Lampy, Todd Abbott. Love those people.
Great people. Great inspectors.
Really been doing it, collectively probably close to 100 years with all three of those guys. And they're excellent. So my point is I have a team of people that you have access to when you hire me to help represent you on a new build. And so we did the inspection, and then we'll go back for another meeting, and we'll do the final walkthrough before closing and make sure that the super got everything done on the house that was detailed in the inspection. Now, Toll Brothers is the builder, and they build a really nice house.
Yeah, they do.
So there wasn't a whole lot on that list, but it's peace of mind. Would you rather have that? They did a radon test. It came in at 1 picocurie, which is well below the EPA maximum allowable 4 picocuries, which is good because it came down. It was below that. So then they have a passive radon mitigation system in there, so they don't need to mitigate. And they also did a sewer scope. That's another thing you want to be aware of, because in a new build, when they do the laterals for the sewer line to the main, oftentimes, they'll tamp it, and then they do the laterals, and they tamp the soil, and then they backfill all around the foundation. Well, there's times when there could be a small belly that occurs in that line, and it can hold water. It could hold 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch of water over a 6-foot piece of the pipe. And it's really important that if I was buying $1 million home, I would want to know that definitively that sewer line didn't have any bellies, and it had good flow to the main out of my house, so I didn't have a backup. So that's another service that they provide, but a lot of buyers don't think about that.
I think it's really cool that you have worked for a builder before, so you know all these things.
Right.
And you just walk through the house and you make sure everything is
20 years ago. Well, and here's the other thing is we work really well together because you have a lot of people moving here and they're staying in your rentals.
Right.
Tell them about your rentals.
Well, my midterm rentals are fully furnished homes and they're temporary stays, so 30, 60, 90 days. So when people are, waiting for their house to be built or closing on a house or relocating, they could stay in one of my fully furnished homes, which is really nice. And they really appreciate it. It's, better than staying in a hotel room.
Yeah. I always say
It's cheaper, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's going to be another podcast because that's my thing.
It is, but one of the things about it, though, and that's why I brought it up, is because the goal is if we can reach more people and help them when they move here, because oftentimes we get somebody to rent one of your places, but they already have, already put an offer or a contract in with a builder, and they did so without any representation. And we've heard like stories, they're like, yeah, it wasn't that great of an experience. They didn't have our back. We didn't have anybody representing us. Well, we want to try to get outreach there before they contract with a new builder so we can help them and represent them, and then we can provide them the housing. So that's, a component.
So we make a really good team.
Yeah, right. That's a component of our podcast, right?
Yes. So anyway, outdoor living, the lifestyle in Colorado, everybody wants that lifestyle.
Trails.
I love the summertime here in Colorado. I love going biking. The trails here are amazing. There are 40 miles here from our house all the way to downtown Denver, and it's fantastic. The Cherry Creek Trail runs forever, and the Sulphur Gulch Trail runs right into the Cherry Creek Trail, so you can go everywhere.
There are many, many, many trails that tie into the
hiking,
Cherry
biking,
Creek Trail.
Skiing, snowboarding in the wintertime, snowmobiling.
Everything outdoor. I mean, we're one of the fittest states in the nation because of all of the outdoor activities. I mean, God, how many miles have we put on just walking our dogs out back of the trails out back of our house? And every community that they're building, these new build communities, they're really cognizant that people want that outdoor space, that Colorado lifestyle. Right. And so they do a really good job of adding fitness centers and clubhouses and walking trails and pools and all the amenities that you would want when you move here because you want this, outdoor lifestyle.
They have ski passes that you could buy, the Epic Ski Pass, you could pay, gosh, I think it was $600 for Epic Pass
for four days.
And you could ski.
Yeah, and Loveland's got some great deals on ski passes. That's very affordable. So we're happy to be a resource there too, and sharing with you how you can plug into this active lifestyle that we have here in Colorado.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Stay fit.
Traffic, transportation.
Well, it's definitely getting bad.
The general rule, back when we've been together 25 years now, right? So the general rule is, used to be wherever you would drive in Denver, like you could leave somewhere and you'd be there in a half an hour, right? And it's not like that anymore. It takes longer. I mean, it's a big city. We've grown in population here quite a bit. So, and a lot of people are moving here for all the reasons that we kind of discussed. And so, the traffic's a little rough anymore.
Yes, the traffic is. So going up to the mountains, I-70 can get really bad. So watch when you go. We have been stuck in traffic for 7 hours before. Yeah. So really pay attention.
And on the way back.
So
on a Sunday, like today's President's Day, it just happens to be the traffic coming back from the mountains today is going to be brutal. Yeah. Plan 4 hours probably.
Yeah. So you could always stop and get some pizza.
Yeah, Bojo's pizza in Idaho Springs. That's a fun place to go. They have like really deep dish mountain style pizza, and then their thing is that you dip their crust in honey. They have honey on all the tables, so you dip the crust in honey. It's good stuff. It's a good spot to post up when you're right in the middle of that 4-hour drive.
Yeah. So just plan ahead. Google's great.
Yeah,
it really kind of.
Yeah, and CDOT. You can check CDOT also for times on what the traffic looks like. And there's a couple ways to get in the mountains. You can get up there in 285. It's a little more windy. You want to be aware of that. I mean, again, have 4-wheel drive, good tires, and then I-70 also. Pretty good shot up there.
Yeah, so moving to Colorado, make sure you prepare for your the altitude change.
Water, hydrate.
Water. The weather can change. Super bipolar here in Colorado, so be prepared. The cost of living is rising, but where isn't it?
Yeah, that's fair.
Colorado's a great place to live.
Yep.
Outdoor lifestyle, love it here.
It's the best.
Yep.
Yep.
Love it. And of course, traffic can be a challenge, but everything else, it's beautiful here.
It's the price of progress. I mean, there's traffic
absolutely.
because people love it because they're moving here. So
It's an amazing place to live, and we would love to help you if you're thinking about relocating here. Give us a call. We can help you buy new build.
That's right. Or resell. I mean, we've been doing it for 20,
We can take
22
you on tours.
years. Yeah.
Show you around.
Yeah. Discuss with you about the communities that we're, there's a million of them popping up, and
Right.
they're all have different attributes and different styles of homes and different builders. And we do podcasts about each of them. So keep an eye out for that. But you can always reach out to us directly if you have questions.
And you could go to colorado-broker.com to check us out, or cozycoloradofurnishedrentals.com to check out the rentals. Until next time.
Hello, Colorado.
All right.
Where are we?